Hello grade 12s, my name is Priscilla SANELANE. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. In this video we are preparing for the business studies paper 1 for the May-June examination. So for both of you who are rewriting and upgrading, as well as for all of you who are doing matric for the first time, if you haven't written your paper 1 yet, this is the video that you need to watch to make sure that you prepare for that. But most importantly, those of you who are rewriting, because I understand that you do not have the privilege of going to school and sitting in front of a teacher where they will be helping you go through the content of business studies. So if you don't know where to start, I have already uploaded on this video the scope for paper 1 as well as the essay predictions. But in this video, what we are simply going to do is we are going to hone in and focus on the things that you need to study, especially now that you are left with only a couple of days before you do write. So this is the video that's going to help you bridge that gap that you have in your studying, to help you be a guide as to what you can still study to be able to maximize the marks that you are going to get in your examination. So let's get right into that. The good news is I now offer once-off live virtual classes to help you with your last-minute preparations for your exam papers. The timetable you are looking at shows you the upcoming virtual class date so that you can book for your papers accordingly. Booking your session is very simple and affordable. All you have to do is send me an email on the email address you are seeing on the screen, and on the subject line write exam prep. So as we're going through this video, I'm going to go with the assumption that you have already watched the paper 1 scope as well as the essay predictions for your paper 1. So in that scope, we are now going to look at what you need to prioritize studying, especially if you are bridging that last minute gap, right? So we are going to look at the things that are going to be an absolute priority for you to cover, and the study method that you can use to make sure that you maximize the time that you have left. And then in our virtual classes, what is going to happen is that we're going to go through how to answer the questions that pop up. So make sure that you do book your sessions if you are interested in knowing how to properly answer the questions in business studies for you to be able to prioritize the amount of marks that you are going to get, as well as how to write your essays properly. So we will be going through question papers step by step, looking at how to actually answer the question paper and how to actually write the essays for you to get all of those marks that are allocated for each question. Section A only consists of one question, and that is question 1. And you know that in question 1, it is compulsory and it covers all of the topics that fall under the paper 1. So both microenvironment and business operations. Now, with that being said, what are the things that you need to prioritize studying for you to be fully prepared for your paper 1? Now, with your paper 1, they're not going to ask you in detail the advantages and disadvantages of things or the impacts of things. They are basically just hitting on the definition of things. So when it comes to legislations, make sure that you know the nature of each legislation. So basically with the legislation, the nature basically just talks of, it's more like the definition of what that legislation is. So the nature of the Employment Equity Act basically tells me what the Employment Equity Act is. So it's more so the definition of the Employment Equity Act. So that's why I'm saying when you're going to your notes, if you're reading with a note or you have a test book, this definition of each act, you find it in the nature. So if you know the nature, just the nature of each and every single act, you will be able to define the acts themselves. Then you also need to know the types of business strategies. Just know what they are and define them. So the different types of business strategies with their definitions. When it comes to business environment, all you need to know is how is each and every single one of those business environments influenced. So influence do we have over each type of a business environment? Then define each step in the hiring process. So we're talking about what is induction, for example, what is a contract, all of those things that pop up in the HR, be able to define them. Then lastly, define TQM and quality. Section B consists of 3 questions, but you are supposed to choose only 2 of them. Now, question 4 is a mix of what's going to appear in question 2 and question 3. So I believe that if you are prepared for question 2 or you're prepared for question 3, or if you're prepared for both of them, then question 4 is not going to be a problem. So what we are going to focus on for this section is what you need to hit on for you to be able to answer question 2 successfully and how to answer question 3 successfully, right? So because if you can answer both question 2 and question 3, question 4 will not be a problem, and you're also going to only be asked to choose between the 3. So you can choose to answer question 3 and question 2 and 3, or you can choose 2 and 4 and 3 and 4. That's totally up to you. But if you're prepared for question 2 and question 3, question 4 is not going to be a problem. So what do you prepare for question 2? So for question 2, we know it's going to be on business environment. Again, we are looking at legislations, but this time we are going deeper into legislations. We're not just looking at the nature, we are going to look at the special requirements of each act. By special requirements, I'm talking about those things that only pertain to a specific act. So for example, when we're dealing with, let's say, triple BEE, there's going to be the pillars of BEE. Those, you can only find those in the triple BEE, right? And if we're doing with the BCEA, that is the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, there are provisions of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act that you will only find in there. Those are your working hours, the times that you can take for holidays, and so forth. And then for each act, also make sure that you prepare the impacts, meaning the advantages and the disadvantages for businesses in terms of that act. Then we move on to business strategies. For business strategies, you need to prepare yourself 2 things. The first one is the environmental analysis tools. The environmental analysis tools we are talking about, you should write these down. That is the SWOT analysis, the PESTEL analysis, and the Porter's 5 forces model. Then also for business strategies, you should also prepare yourself the steps to developing a strategy. Now, when it comes to types of business strategies, you would have already covered that when you were preparing for section A. So I'm assuming that you are already good with the types of business strategies because you had to do that for section A. So what you're just going to add for section B is make sure that you cover environmental analysis tools and the steps to developing a strategy. Then from there, we move on to business environments and business sectors. For that, you need to be able to differentiate between the different types of business environments we have and their influence. You would have already covered this when you were preparing for section A. And then additionally to that, you are going to add some examples of different business sectors. So you know we have the primary sector, the secondary sector. So what types of businesses and industries fall under those? Then for question 3, we are looking at business operations, starting with the human resource function. For each step of the human resource function, we are talking recruitment, placement, inductions, all of that. All of them have different processes. So you're going to study the recruitment process, the induction process, the placement process. So that's what I mean by the process of each step. Then you're also going to add additionally contents of the employment contract as well as the fringe benefits. Starting with the definition of fringe benefits as well as the different kinds or examples of fringe benefits that you can get from your employment contract. Then we move on to quality of performance. When we get to quality of performance, the first thing that you need to do is ways TQM can reduce cost of quality. So the ways that total quality management can reduce cost of quality is going to be a section in your notes. Go make sure that you study those different ways because they will ask you this question more than likely. And then also the contribution of quality to the success or the failure of the business. So basically, how does quality contribute to the success or the failure of a business? So those are the things that you need to be able to study. Remember, when you get to section B, you are only answering 2 questions, either 2 and 3 or 2 and 4 or 3 and 4. Question 4 is just split in half. The first part of it will represent business environments and the other will do business operations. when it comes to section C, what do you prioritize in terms of essays? Now, in the video that we did on essay predictions, I have already given my recommendation on what I think would be the best strategy for you to take when it comes to essays. But if you want to prepare just in general and you just want to be safe and prepare for everything, when it comes to section C, you're not going to write both essays. I still recommend that you choose between question 5 and question 6. Question 5 is going to be on business environments. The essays that you will need to prepare for that would be essays on legislative acts. Now, you see all of those acts that you know, I think there are about 8 of them. Any one of them can be an essay. So that means you will have to prepare 8 essays in terms of just the legislative act alone, unless you want to take the risk of nitpicking which one of the 8 might come up. And then the other essay that you will have to do for business environments is the essay on business strategies. Now, this is going to be everything that encompasses business strategies. I think that if you prepared well for section A and section B in terms of business strategies, you will not have any problem writing an essay on those things, because it's just those things repeated again for your essay. Those different aspects of your business strategies will come as the subheadings under your essay. So for example, there will be a part of the essay where they may be asking you to outline the steps to developing a strategy. There might be a part where they want you to discuss a specific type of business strategy. So if you have covered those while you were studying for section A and you were preparing for your section B, then those things that you have covered will just make different parts of your essay, and so you will be good when it comes to writing the essay on business strategies. Then the other alternative is that you choose to write the essay on question 6, which is going to be on business operations. Similar to business strategies, if you have prepared well for section A and section B for human resource as well as quality of performance, you are not going to have any problem writing this essay. What we are just going to add on in the virtual class is how to answer the essay in order to ace it. To have YouTube recommend you more of my videos, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below.